Well, thank you, everybody. If you're just joining us now or if you've been here on the line for a couple of minutes, thanks so much for joining us tonight for this Thursday night Q Sciences product call. As always, we're excited to have you, and thanks for spending a little time with us on your Thursday evening here. My name is Jane, and I work with the corporate team, and I'll be hosting this call tonight. And I'm excited, really excited to have our special guest on tonight's call, Autumn Stringham. But first, I just want to give a little bit of background on the product that we're going to be talking about tonight, and that is Empower Plus Q96. And as many of you, I'm sure know, that is the flagship product here at Q Sciences. And it is a micronutrient supplement that has been around for 18 years, has a great history of success with a lot of different people, 25 published medical studies that speak to its effectiveness to help people have better calm, mental clarity, focus, and a lot of other just great benefits for well-being and health, documented in 25 clinical studies and hundreds of thousands of testimonials and stories from all the people that have used this product over the past 18 years. So with that said, I will introduce our special guest tonight. As I said, it's Autumn Stringham. And Autumn is an author and a mother, and she's the daughter of Tony Steffen, who, as you may know, is the formulator of Empower Plus Q96. And she wrote about her incredible story about how Q96 changed her life in what is now a best-selling memoir called A Promise of Hope. So I, again, want to introduce Autumn and thank her for being here tonight. It's always great to have her on a call, and she has so much wisdom and insight to share. So Autumn, thanks so much for being here again tonight.
Oh, thanks, Jane. It's really fun to be on a call with you again after that interview we did a while back. I've always enjoyed visiting with you.
Yeah, we did. I don't know if the people on have seen this, but about a year ago, Autumn and I recorded a video where we talked a little bit about her book and her story. And so if you haven't seen that, definitely look that up. It's available on the Q Sciences YouTube channel. So yeah, we've been able to talk before in the past, and it's fun to get to catch up again here a year later. So I guess to get started, Autumn, I know it's crazy, time goes by so fast. But to get started, if you could share with us a bit of your story and kind of the background of this product and what it's meant to your life, and kind of some of the experiences that you've had that you ended up writing about in your memoir, A Promise of Hope.
Okay, I'm going to be really brief with that because I am so excited about talking about some of the other things that I've seen in the last 18 months since Q Sciences has been distributing my family product. But I guess I'll just start just a little bit from the beginning. When I was about 5 years old, we lost my grandfather to suicide. And at the time, we weren't calling it a suicide. Everyone just said it was a heart attack. But because there was a lot of shame around mental illness and bipolar in particular at that point, and for people in his generation, it was just not something that people talked about. Well, fast forward through many years, and when I was 21, we lost my mom to suicide. By the time we lost my mother to her bipolar suicide, I was already diagnosed and had been on multiple medications for bipolar myself. And so this turns out to be something that really ran deep in our family. And there were a lot of habits and a lot of interesting behaviors that were sort of developed in our family life, kind of as a coping mechanism for all the pain that we were suffering as a result of mood swings and all the confusion that goes along with bipolar behavior. And so our family was pretty dysfunctional. Well, I tried 13 different medications, and over a few years, and I was in and out of the hospital. It was a regular thing for my husband to have to take me kind of in an emergency visit to the doctor to get a needle of something that would make me sleep for a few days when I would get escalate into a really dramatic delusional mania. And so that kind of became part of our normal life. And then my dad being pretty desperate at that point, having me being so sick and then my younger brother being diagnosed, and really seeing it coming up in a lot of the children. My mom actually had given birth to 9 children And he could kind of see it coming down the line for most of the kids. And so he was gravely concerned. He was going to lose everybody to this. And he ended up having an amazing conversation at the right time, in the right place, and really as an answer to his prayers. And the gentleman that he spoke with, when he described our whole family situation, he said that he didn't know anything about mental illness, but my brother, who was sick and diagnosed and medicated at the time, to this gentleman sounded an awful lot like a pig with ear and tail biting syndrome. And that sort of led them into a really strange conversation about how this gentleman had been helping swine who were agitated and suffering with aggressive behaviors, and he was helping them through nutrition. And so it sort of sparked an interesting idea with my dad. And from that, they developed Empower Plus. And so for 17 years before Q Sciences came around, we had been using and helping other people to use this formulation in Canada and actually all over the world by word of mouth and through the researchers and the universities that had picked it up to study it. It has spread into several different countries and had been looked at, I think, by 14 or 15 different universities, people in different universities. And that's where all the research came from. But that sort of brings us up to when Q Sciences came on board. And that was one of the best surprises of my life because they decided to use our family formulation that had been very specifically targeted for people with very severe mental health problems and brain problems, and suddenly make it available to average healthy people. And that was a huge eye-opener for me. It's really an interesting time when they came on board. So that sort of brings us to that whole concept of the calm, coping, and clarity, because we had to sort of figure out a way to talk about the effects that Empower Plus Q96 has on people, kind of without talking about diagnoses and all of the things that we used to address in Canada as a mental health support program. And so I thought I'd share a few stories about that, if you're up for that.
Yeah, I think just to kind of reiterate what you had said, that a lot of people, when they first kind of heard about this product, they only thought of it maybe in the context of people like in your family that had something a little bit more severe, maybe a mental health issue that really needed something like this. But as you said, it's really for anybody that could use calm, clarity, coping, which I think we all could probably use in different situations. And so, yeah, I'm excited that you brought that up because I would love to hear you talk about these three elements in particular, and maybe how you have seen this help everyday regular people to have that better calm, clarity, and coping. So yeah, if you could talk about that in depth, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, I will. And you know, that's one of the things, when HarperCollins published my book, they called it A Promise of Hope. And then the subtitle is huge. It's The Astonishing True Story of a Woman Afflicted with Bipolar Disorder and the Miraculous Treatment That Cured Her. So it's a really bold title, but and it really makes it seem like this is about bipolar. But one of the most amazing things, as I've seen this opened up to general public use in a really low dose and so much more accessible than it's ever been through Q Sciences. You know, average people just never would have found this or even thought to use it because it was very specifically targeted for bipolar. But now, man, the stories are mounting, incredible stories of people experiencing this. I'll give you an example. Okay, so when I first found out that Q Sciences was going to be marketing the product, I kind of scoffed at the idea, and I grabbed a bottle and passed it to a friend of ours. He's a real estate agent, really nice guy, goes to the same church that we do, and, you know, family man. I think they've got 5 kids, just a nice, normal guy. And I just said, hey, try this at 4 caps a day. Now, I was used to seeing before the Q96 technology came into play, I was used to seeing people take more like 15. So 4 caps a day seemed kind of ridiculous. And I said, go ahead, Lee, give it a shot. See what you can do on 4 caps a day. And he called me back about a week later, actually after he had divided the rest of the bottle and started spreading it all over the community in little Ziploc baggies, giving it to people. Try this, try this. He said his wife would no longer, like she said, you're never allowed to get off that stuff, because this normal guy was suddenly just a whole lot calmer. He'd come home after a hard day's work, and he was just nicer to everybody in the house. And I don't think he was ever a tyrant, but she just could see such a difference in his ability to just, like, longer fuse. It took a lot more to get him upset, and that made a big difference in her family home. So Lee became an instant, lifelong customer. And then, of course, he's trying to figure out how to get all of his kids and his wife on this, and how can they afford it. And so grateful for the whole thing that Q Sciences does with the network marketing and all of that, because it's opened up a door where, on a very part-time effort, he's been able to share his story and my story and lots of other people's stories, and get a lot of people who are using it. And he'll be qualifying this month as a silver group leader, which is phenomenal. But it's just because he's so passionate about feeling calmer. It didn't have to be high drama. Feeling calm actually counts for a lot of people. And so that was a big eye-opener for me. And then, of course, we go to coping, and I don't know how many of the listeners were at the Errand of Angels event here. We did that charity event in January in the Boise area. And Erin was one of the speakers there. Well, she had this little boy. She's a young mom. She's got a bunch of little kids. And one of her sons was just having a problem right from the time he was about 18 months old. And the stress level, because of his behaviors in the home, it just a whole lot of stress. And they were searching for answers. And eventually they came to the point where he was diagnosed with early onset childhood bipolar. So she was praying for answers and trying to figure out what to do for him. And she called me up one day, and I knew her through our church, but I didn't know her. We knew each other's names in the hallway, sort of thing. She called me up and said, my goodness, can you please tell me why your name keeps coming to my mind when I'm praying about my son? And I knew why that would be. I didn't know her son or her situation, but I had a pretty good guess. So I invited her for lunch, and I shared with her my story. And then she shared with me what her son had been diagnosed with. Well, of course, her son has benefited dramatically, and he's done really well using the Q96, and then also the Q-biotic has made a really big difference for his gut and his ability to absorb the nutrients. And he's just done amazing things. But one of the greater miracles has been Erin, because she and her husband decided if they were going to feed it to their son, that they should try it themselves. So they started taking Q96 as well. And when they did, she said her ability to cope with stress changed, and their whole house changed as a result. She describes herself as a mom who had become a screamer, and she was just exhausted, and she was resentful. And, she'd hear the kids in the morning and didn't want to get out of bed to greet them. Like, she was just so tired of the stress that they'd been under. And she said it's just completely turned their whole home around because of her ability to cope. So now when they deal with financial issues or, regular family stuff that crops up when you've got 4 kids and a house and a rental and a bunch of things to take care of, she says nothing blows her over anymore. She just feels so solid, and she can find ways to be happy every day. And that's a huge thing. And anybody in a family knows that when mom's not happy, the whole house is affected, right? I won't go cliche on you, Jane, but it affects the whole home, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's a really big deal. That was a really big deal for them. And then I guess the third one is clarity. And oh my goodness, the stories that I hear from people about increases in mental clarity, just for average people of average health, it makes such a difference. I really think that clarity is brain fog is the mother of procrastination. And there are a lot of us that are just in a brain fog all the time, and we don't really know what to do about it. And I think that it can be disguised in a lot of different behaviors when we just feel foggy in the head and we're indecisive or unmotivated and we just can't think a clear thought. And that can be really crippling. So I have just heard so many adults who will say, well, the first thing that came to me was kind of this clear thought. And I'd wake up in the morning and I knew exactly what it was I needed to do. And, when you're dealing predominantly in hardcore mental health issues and you're hearing about people with psychosis or extreme mood swings or delusions or OCD, like hardcore stuff, you don't really think about what it would feel like to have a little brain fog. But for someone of average health, when they're walking around in a fog, it's debilitating too. And they know when it clears because they feel so much better than they did before. And so that's so exciting to see that happening for so many people. And anyway, so that's been a really cool part of watching people do better as they use the Empower Plus Q96. And I have to say, clarity has been one of the biggest blessings in my life. I went from, trying 13 different medications, and nobody feels clear on that many medications. I was taking 5 at a time and really, really unable to think through what my next step was, what I ought to do, how I should feel. I was just really feeling like a victim in my life. And I'll tell you, in being able to come away from that and come into a healthier lifestyle, the clarity that I've experienced using my dad's formulation has really, it had some instant effect with me, but it's also had a really amazing cumulative effect over the years. And I just watched as I've been able to make better choices, deal with problems that everybody faces in life. Anybody who's been married for 23 years knows that you have to reinvent yourself once or twice in those years. And we've stayed happily married and gone through difficult things. But having that ability to think through things clearly and prioritize and take the drama out of situations. I have to say, I have had a ton of incredible health benefits from using Q96 that includes ability to deal with other real life problems that it doesn't solve. And I'll just give you an example. On the same day that I was diagnosed with bipolar, I was also diagnosed with possible multiple sclerosis. And that has, for the last 25 years, come back to bite me many times in the form of autoimmune problems. And it affects my gait, and it could be a source of great depression or real frustration for me to have something that's painful and inconvenient and sometimes embarrassing for me to deal with. But because of the clarity that I experience on Q96, it literally changes the way that I filter real life experiences. I feel like I can cope better and move forward and see things in a way that is just inherently positive. And I know that it wouldn't be the case if I didn't have that blessing of calm and coping and clarity and just being well, just actually being really healthy in my mind and my brain. It's been a really important part of dealing with the rest of real life. So, sometimes people will ask me if what are the limitations of Q96, or what does it do or what doesn't do? And there's a lot of things that it does for people, and there's also a lot of things that it doesn't change. But I think anybody dealing with anything in life deals better when they have the capacity to feel calm and they can cope with stress in a better way and have that mental clarity. And that's just a great place to start. If you're going to launch into life, that's a wonderful place to start from.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's very, very well put. I love the way you say that. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I guess I have another question. You've, of course, worked with a lot of different people as you've been kind of working with Q Sciences and just over the years. What, to people that maybe haven't tried Q96 yet and are a little bit like nervous, is it the right thing for them? What do you suggest to people when you first tell them about it? Like where would you suggest, where can they look for more information if they have more questions? How do you suggest that they just get started doing it? What's kind of the general advice that you would give to someone that's kind of on the fence about if they want to try it or not?
So the first thing that I would ask somebody is if they are, already diagnosed with something, if they're coming at this from the angle like maybe they've read my book, if they've read A Promise of Hope and they can resonate with my story on a personal level, then the conversation is about lifestyle. Where I'll say, this isn't something to take lightly, because if you're medicated and you've got a history, you need to be careful and bring on lots of support. You want to get your doctor's support, your family's support, and really make this a clear decision that you're going to try this as a part of your coping strategy in life. And some of that coping strategy requires transitions with medication. And so I would direct them to contact micronutrient support, understand the protocol that's been developed in Canada for the last 15 years, and then take that back to their doctor, take that back to their family, and really make a solid game plan so that they can really try it all the way through and understand what it is that they need to do. And then if they're not coming at it from, wow, I read your story and I think you wrote about me, because I get that, where people feel like, oh my goodness, somebody put my illness into words. If they aren't dealing with mental illness, but they're just dealing with real life stuff and they just want to feel better and medications aren't involved, that's where I just say, just give it a try. Because the dosages, because of the new technology, the dosage is so low compared to what it used to be, and the potential for side effects is so low. People can just go ahead and try it as if it were a daily supplement. And taking 4 capsules a day for an average adult, that's a totally reasonable thing to do, and just give it a good try. Try it out for a month and see how you feel. Because most people will come back saying that with a long list of things that they feel have changed and ways that they've been helped. And I guess that's where I usually start. I just sort of divide them into, are you coming at this from a mental health perspective, or are you coming at this from a I need to feel better perspective? Because the one requires a little more planning. But my goodness, so worth the journey. If people are willing to take the journey, it is such a worthy thing to do, because if it works for you, it changes everything. It just changes everything. I wanted to tell you, Jane, things have been like so fun and so stressful at my house lately. I had my adult son come back from Nicaragua. He was gone for 2 years. He just arrived home, and a couple of years ago, he met just an amazing girl, and they have decided to get married, but very quickly. So we're very suddenly planning a wedding for August, right at the beginning of August. And so I'm suddenly launched into wedding planning. I've got 3 teenage daughters, and that says it all right there. And they're just wonderful, but it is a busy life, And I'm still working on helping people, and then I'm dealing with a current episode of autoimmune disorder, which is just inconvenient for me. But I'm able to get through this and every day wake up feeling excited and like I can organize my thoughts and get down to what I need to do and do it all within reason. And that is something that I never, ever would have guessed that I could do. It's just to function as a mom day in, day out, even under, a big stress, and feel happy about it and just get through every day. And I don't know, I would just encourage regular, healthy people to give it a shot and see how much better you can actually feel. Because sometimes I don't think you realize what you're missing until until you try it. You know?
Yeah, right. Definitely. Yeah, that's, again, very, very well put. Well, as we kind of wrap up the call, will you, if you would, will you remind people again about where they can find your book, where they can find that interview we talked about? Maybe give a little plug for that, because I know a lot of people would love to hear more from you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so A Promise of Hope was published by HarperCollins, and so people can go to Amazon and purchase it if they search my name, Autumn Stringham, and there's no H in Stringham, just Stringham. Or if they search the name of the book, A Promise of Hope. It's a memoir, and it's out there, and people can purchase that. It's also available for people on audio recording. Audible.com, which is an Amazon company, carries that. And I think that it's available through Q Sciences at the will call. They are stocking books there, so people can purchase it there at a really good price. And then pretty much anywhere books are sold, if you just walk into your local bookstore, they'll order A Promise of Hope for you because it is distributed by HarperCollins, so it's available everywhere. And then, I've got a Facebook page for author Autumn Stringham, and so people can look that up or find the link on the Q Sciences corporate site. It was just posted today, so there's a link to my Facebook page. People want to drop me a note. I'm always happy to get mail, and I like to post things that are hopeful or helpful. Sometimes people will write me a letter and have a concern, and I'll turn it around and kind of turn it into a post anonymously, but just sort of answering that question for everyone. So that's a great resource if people are looking for help. And then just a reminder, if someone's trying this product, Empower Plus Q96 really does change the way a lot of people's medication makes them feel. And so please be mindful of that. Get the protocol for micronutrient support, take it back to your family and to your physician, and just, be serious about making sure that you've got the right support if you're going to try this out. And, Oh, and, I've heard there's a lot of people coming to the summit on the 16th. I wish that I could be there, Jane. I'm going to have to stay back with my kids because we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on this month. But my husband's going to be there, and so people just say hi to Dana for me, and hope to see everybody again the next time around when there's a big meeting. It'll be really fun.
Perfect. Well, we will miss you there, but we understand, and we'll catch you next time, like you said. And it'll be great to have Dana, so he'll be in your place, I guess. Well, thank you. He can't replace you, but it'll be a good stand-in. Well, thank you so much again, Autumn, for joining this call tonight and sharing all this great information with us. I do want to remind people again that if they're still looking to learn more about Empower Plus Q96, get back with the person that invited you on this call if you're new here, and they can give you some more information and get you a product sample if you haven't tried it yet. So be sure to do that. And then just a reminder that we do these product calls every Thursday evening at the same time, 7 o'clock Mountain Time. So be sure to join us again next week for another great call. So thank you again so much, Autumn. Thanks so much for being here. It was great to have you.
Thanks, Jane. It was fun. We'll talk to you again.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Okay. And thanks again, all of you who joined us, and have a great night and a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.